Today, we're going to talk about the birds and bees visiting hotels, but it's not that type of video, so there's no need to send the kids outside to play. Hi, this is Steve DeMasi, and welcome to Uncharted DIY. When the subject of pollination comes up, most people picture the industrious honeybee, but did you know that the honeybee is not the most effective pollinator? Naturally, honeybees get all the attention because of that delicious sweet honey. But today we'll focus on two other unsung heroes in the world of pollination, the mason and leafcutter bees. These bees are very similar and often live right next to each other during their overlapping seasons. For this video, I'll simply refer to these two species as mason bees. These incredible bees are super pollinators with a remarkable 95% pollination rate, far surpassing honeybees. So, let's dive into the world of these cool little bees and learn how to create a cozy mason bee hotel right in your backyard. Before we start building our mason bee hotel, let's explore why these tiny creatures are so amazing. Did you know there are over 20,000 known bee species, with 4,000 of them found in North America alone? Mason and leafcutter bees are two of the more familiar types of bees, commonly called orchard bees. They're 120 times more effective than honeybees or bumblebees when it comes to pollination. Just 6 mason bees can pollinate an entire apple tree. 250 to 300 can cover a whole acre of orchard. One reason for their effectiveness is that while honeybees land gracefully on a flower and collect pollen in tidy little pollen baskets on their legs, mason bees kind of crash land instead. Their fuzzy Velcro-like bodies gather a lot of pollen which gets transferred from blossom to blossom as they go about their buzzy business. Mason bees don't produce honey and are solitary, meaning they don't live in hives. They don't have queens or workers, so each female makes her own nests in tubular cavities, narrow gaps, or tunnels. Being solitary doesn't mean they're stuck up or antisocial. They're happy to be in close proximity with their neighbors, making bee hotels the perfect accommodations for their bee babies. The best part is that these gentle mason bees are friendly and curious creatures that don't sting to protect their nests, so they're completely safe around children and pets. Plus, they're fascinating to watch and highly beneficial for the environment. Now, you might be wondering, why should I consider building a mason bee hotel? Well, here's a few reasons. First, these low-maintenance guests are incredibly easy to raise. You don't need fancy equipment or expert knowledge to take care of them. They don't chew through your wood to create their own tunnels like carpenter bees. Instead, they'll happily move into the bee hotel you provide for them. Lastly, mason bees are incredible pollinators, so by having a bee hotel, you're creating a thriving ecosystem with healthier plants and more vibrant surroundings. It's a win-win for you and nature. If you're enjoying this video, please take a second and hit that like button. It really helps the channel to grow. This year, we have a bounty of apples, crab apples, cherries, and plums, and we're happy to have these buzzing little friends in the yard. However, our simple prefab mason bee hotel was fully booked for this year's season. These busy bees needed more space to set up their nurseries, so it was time for a hotel annex. Many of the shelters available online are made to be cute, but may lack features these buzzing buddies need to thrive. The rooms need to be cleaned between guests to prevent pests and parasites. Quite a few commercial hotels use glued-in bamboo tubes that can't be cleaned and often have sharp edges on the inside that can catch the wings of the bees. Being able to clean, replace tubes, or tube liners is essential. Many have no overhang to protect the tubes from the weather, and the tubes are too short to provide enough space for the female to lay her eggs. The female places pollen in the tube, lays an egg, and then seals that section with mud, thus the mason moniker. The leafcutters do the same thing, except with small segments of leaves. They'll repeat this until the tube is filled with about 5 to 6 eggs, so tube depth is important. With these and other improvements in mind, I decided to create our own mason bee hotel annex. So let's take a quick tour and then get started on building our Airbnb. One notable feature of our Mason Bee Hotel design is a mesh screen that keeps predators and birds, especially woodpeckers, from using the tubes as a diner. An extended housing and an overhanging roof shelter the tubes from rain and weather. This design ensures that the hotel gets plenty of morning sunshine while keeping the occupants safe and comfortable. The tube liners are easy to replace, and the modular tube containers, or pods, can be removed in the off-season for housing them out of the weather in the shed or garage. The ability to extract the pods without disassembling or taking down the hotel makes this so much easier. Now let's move on to the construction process. Here's a list of materials I used to make this bee hotel. There are infinite ways to make a bee hotel, but I'll show you how to make one just like ours. Remember, you can substitute and modify for what materials you may have on hand and change the dimensions to suit your needs. Let me guide you through the steps of this easy project. You'll need large tubes to create the pod housings that contain the cardboard bee nesting tubes. I had leftover 4-inch corrugated drainage pipe, but PVC pipe works well too. The pods are 7 inches long, so the cardboard tubes are recessed inside them. To keep the cardboard tubes from sliding out, I applied a double layer of aluminum foil to the ends of the pods using packing tape. I then packed them with 5/16 diameter by 6-inch long cardboard nesting tubes that have paper sleeve inserts. The paper inserts allow replacement of just the paper rather than the whole cardboard tube. Having one end of the tubes blocked is essential to protect the eggs and cocoons, and these tubes came with rubber end cap plugs. However, with the foil on the pod ends, the rubber plugs are redundant. I used about 70 tubes to fill each pod. I have links to bee tubes in the description and on UnchartedDIY.com. Some companies sell slightly smaller tubes specifically for leafcutter bees, but our leafcutters seem quite happy to use the same tube size as the mason bees. Now, let's work on the structure of the hotel. Using solid wood for the sides and cross brace rails provides structural strength. The roof and back panel are screwed onto these side panels, so I don't recommend using plywood and particle board for the sides since the edges don't hold screws well. Grab your trusty circular saw, or hand saw if you prefer, and cut the sides with a sloped angle for the roof. Then, cut 2 cross brace rails. I used a jigsaw to make semicircle cutouts for the pods to sit in. Here's a pro tip. Clamping them together when making the cutouts will save you time and ensure perfect front-to-back alignment. A light sanding is a good idea to minimize the potential for splinters, and it gives it a more finished appearance. With such a small project, hand sanding would work well if you don't have a power sander. After drilling pilot holes to keep the wood from splitting, I assembled the sides and cross brace rails using 1.5-inch construction screws. I'm using an impact driver because they're awesome tools, but a screwdriver works just fine too. I'm using 3/8-inch sheathing plywood for the back and roof panels, but you can use whatever plywood you've got laying around. Screw the back panel on first, then overlap the roof panel to provide extra rain protection. Attach them with 4 1-inch screws for each panel. To prevent the pods from sliding off the rails, attach small scraps of wood with just enough overlap to keep the pods in place without blocking any bee tubes. To make the hotel a bit snazzier, let's add some shingles. Cut down a 3.5-inch wide fence picket and screw them to the roof. I'm using fir instead of fresh cedar to avoid any off-putting smell for our fuzzy guests. The shingles are purely for looks, but why not make it look nice, right? The mesh screen is 1/2-inch hardware cloth, usually found in the fencing section of the hardware store. It's attached on either side with strips of scrap wood, using 2 screws for each side. Chicken wire works too, though use 2 layers to reduce the size of the openings. It may not look as spiffy, but the bees don't seem to be picky. I left all the wood untreated because off-gassing from paint or varnish could keep the bees away for weeks, and I like the look of a weathered patina. Secure the bee hotel to a sturdy structure or post at least 5 feet off the ground, where it'll get early morning sun in early spring. I attached the hotel to the side of our covered patio with 3 2.5-inch screws. Our bees made a beeline for the new annex, and within about 20 minutes, they'd already started moving in. And there you have it. With just a few simple steps, you've built your very own Mason Bee Hotel and are ready for the grand opening. If you found this video helpful, please let me know in the comments and give it a like so YouTube will share this with more people. This is Steve, and thanks for watching Uncharted DIY.